Hi everyone. Recently I was checking my passport for a future travel trip, and I realised that it only had about 6 months left validity wise, and as you probably know, like you need more than 6 months to travel anywhere in the world pretty much, otherwise it won't let you in the country. So pretty much my passport was useless. So anyway, I went down to the local post office for a wallet extraction, $250. Put in my new application or replacement for a passport, and at the end of the process the woman there got out a pair of scissors and she chopped that corner off and she chopped that corner off, and on the passport itself she chopped the bottom off, the barcode and the bit that they scan so you can get out of the country and back in the country. So essentially I had my wings clipped. I'll tell you, I love travelling, so it was quite a revelation to realise that we're incredibly privileged when we've got a passport to be able to travel for a start, but my freedom had been clipped, my wings had been clipped, just like those birds that some pet owners have. They clip the wings so they can only walk so far, not even fly. Well, if they do fly, they don't stay in the air very long anyway. So it got me thinking, we all have areas of lives that we have our wings clipped in. It might be, in this instance, travel, and maybe it's travel, maybe your experience of having wings clipped is not because you had your passport clipped, but because you don't have one, or because you have some fear of flying or travelling, etc. Lots of different reasons. But there's a lot of areas of life that are important to us. Things like business, career, things like finances and family and relationships, fun, adventure, travel, sports, hobbies. There's heaps of areas, and so my request to you is to have a think about which area of your life that you've had your wings clipped. We all have different areas that we're feeling a lack of power in, and that we can't do things, or things that we want to do. And I want to take the time now to ask you to think and look at different areas of your life. Maybe you have to ask a close friend to share with you where you are constrained, because sometimes we don't even realise that we have that sort of stoppage in life. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you briefly, and I also wanted to share with you a way to restore your wings, obviously besides paying some money and putting a form in to renew your passport, but I'm talking about other areas of life. And I've been really privileged over the last almost 10 years now, must be about 8 years, to work a process that's really simple with a small group of people, and quite regularly catch up once a quarter. These days it's a bit further afield, or longer between them. But I've used the same process to establish 2020 goals back in 2010, and then same again every year at the start of a new year, and same with every quarter to 6 months, so every 3 to 6 months. And it really is a straightforward process, and I want to share it very quickly with you. I do share it once a year with property entrepreneurs and business entrepreneurs, etc. Because I'm committed that other people use this simple tool to really have a powerful life and achieve things that they wouldn't otherwise achieve. I've used the same process to go travelling for 6 months overseas. It was only a year or so ago, 2 years ago. More recently I've travelled a cruise from America to Australia, and countless travel trips, countless property deals, countless business endeavours. They haven't always gone well, but especially the business endeavours. But I tell you, the learning I got and the action I've taken out of setting goals, I just wouldn't do it otherwise. Even going on a variety bash and causing a variety team to raise over $40,000 in the last few years. They don't happen by themselves. They've got to have a driver like setting goals and an action plan. So very quickly, it's only 4 steps, very easy. The first 2 steps, the first step I'll tell you is the only way I know to get things out of the way that have been clogging where I'm at. It's a bit like this passport really, like heaps of travelling, there's the start of it. Travelling overseas and different countries, Africa and Asia, Russia, Latvia and Eastern Bloc countries. Heaps of travel, been really privileged, and a lot of it, pretty much all of it's been because I've set the goals to do it. And there's only a couple of pages left. And that's how we end up in life. We've got different areas of life that get clogged up, things from the past. They're all good things, by the way, but sometimes we get bad things and the good things in the past that really take up all the space, and we don't have any freedom to generate and create something new that really would inspire us. So, the first step, the bad. All that stuff that we tend to try and shuffle under the carpet, guess what? That's the stuff we actually remember. So the only way, the most powerful way to deal with that is to acknowledge it. Acknowledge all the stuff that didn't go as well as I'd like it to. Acknowledge all the upsets with people and things I tried to do and myself. All the disasters, all the stuff-ups. Like literally all the stuff-ups that I consider stuff-ups. Might not be stuff-ups, but in the view of other people. But the important thing is that's what I consider to be a mistake, an error, a problem, etc. I want to declare them. I want to write them all down. So, for example, if you're setting goals for a new year, the previous year you'd write down all your upsets, all the things, frustrations, the things that didn't work as well as you'd like them to, things that you consider yourself silly for doing, and we all have them. So my request is get a list. You might get to a whole page, you might get to 3 pages before you start struggling to write them down. But here's the thing, if you spend an extra 20 to 30 minutes after you can't write anymore, you'll find the ones that'll make the biggest difference. The ones that really you are annoyed about, upset about, being fearful of even writing them down. So yeah, just write them down. Some people actually go the next step and put them in a fire. You can put them in a shredder, you can put them in a bin, you can rip it up. I went to a New Year's Eve party last year, and the friend who was on the party, he had a burning ceremony. And it was a fun night, we had lots of fun, and his invitation during the night was, if you've got things that upset you last year, people that upset you last year, events that upset you last year, put them all down on paper, scrunch them up, chuck them in the fire and watch them burn. And a very powerful process, I might add, but it was a lot of fun too. So, you see, in life, we remember the bad things, and even more so than the good things. So then we need to acknowledge all the good things that we've achieved. And when I say good things, it might not be significant to other people, but they're actions and things you've achieved that you want to be acknowledged for. And they could be something as insignificant as having a conversation with a family member or a friend, or what have you. That was a really difficult conversation to have. But you know that at the end of the day, it's made a big difference having that conversation, and that you've gone through some barriers to achieve it. So, yeah, I want you to write a list of all the good things, all the things you want to be acknowledged for, all the things you achieved, small to big, small to medium to big, and all the big things you have achieved as well. So it could be in all areas of life, but it could be, for example, you've done some fundraising efforts and you've raised X amount of dollars. You've said you're going to go camping last year 4 times, once a quarter, and you went camping 3 times. That's awesome. Acknowledge that you went camping 3 times last year. And similarly with property deals, if you've set out to sell some property, maybe last year I had 3 properties in the market, and I eventually sold them all. So that was a big thing for me. One of those properties had been on the market for 3 years. So that's a huge thing, and you've got to acknowledge yourself for the efforts and the achievement that you've achieved. Okay, so that's step 1 and 2. We've set out to acknowledge the good, bad, and the ugly, and it all goes together. We tend to forget about the good stuff, like I said before, and just remember the bad stuff, even though we don't remember the bad stuff. And the way to remember what we have achieved and give ourselves some positive vibes, I guess, around what we have achieved is to acknowledge them, and a way to try and acknowledge, well, you can't forget the bad things, but we move on from them, and the way we do that is just declaring and writing them down and acknowledging that they happen. There's an old adage, whatever you sort of try and avoid and resist, if you like, keeps coming up again and again and again until you acknowledge it. And if you think of even support groups for different diseases and habits and so forth. They acknowledge things before they can move on. It's exactly the same. So that's steps 1 and 2. Step 3 is setting goals and sitting down and writing down goals for every area of your life. And I would encourage you to write at least 3 to 5 goals in every area of your life. Right from family, friends, fun, adventure, making a difference, and even having a legacy area of life. So what are you leaving behind when eventually you end up in the ground? Quite literally, every area of life. I actually sit down and spend many hours writing goals for different areas of my life, so that it's a life that's full and what's the best way? I'm trying to think of a word that really describes it. Just I know that I've set out to intentionally achieve things in every area of my life, and I feel really good about that, and it's a great role model for my kids as well. Yeah, so once we've got I think I shared with you before that getting the things that we've done in the past, over to one side, and we're happy with them, finished with them, we're in a position to have a blank canvas and do whatever we want to do in life. So moving on, the next step is, once we've got our goals declared, written down, and you're satisfied with them, don't be afraid of putting goals that maybe you're a bit scared about. That's a good thing to have. Maybe they're going to push you a bit, there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe you don't know how to achieve them, there's nothing wrong with that either. The next step is to sit down and write a map, which is a massive action plan. For every one of those goals, we set about actions, a list of actions, and then we book into a calendar or some sort of structure to, maybe it's a weekly event or a weekly time slot that you put in there, to start working towards achieving those goals. Something I did forget to mention is the old acronym of SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time limited. Well, that's okay. Sometimes that's a bit, having a SMART goal is a bit constraining, because we're working off what we know to achieve now, how to achieve things now, and realistic in our time frame or in our mind right now is not necessarily realistic, really. So I like to call them games, because I can play full out of them and have fun with them, and at the end of the day, if it doesn't achieve quite exactly as I set out to achieve, it might look slightly different or different altogether. I know I've gone forwards and taken action around my games. So you do whatever works for you, but essentially that's the 4 steps, and it's really straightforward. The hardest thing is sitting down, and the hardest thing is taking action, like always. Sitting down and getting pen to paper and thinking. It takes a lot of effort, and that's why having a group of people come together is a great structure and a great accountability structure to make it happen. And the way I do that yearly is I share this process with a bunch of entrepreneurs, whoever's interested, because I want to give this tool forward, I want to give it away to other people, just like I'm doing now to you, and also hold myself accountable for going through this process minimum once per year. So I hope that's helped you guys. If you've got any questions, you're all welcome to email me, give me a quick call, whatever works best for you. And I hope you got massive value out of this process. I know it's provided me massive values and many opportunities for travel, property deals, business deals, new ventures, new charitable groups, all sorts of stuff that I would never step out of my comfort zone to do otherwise. Alright, so wishing you all the best, guys.